Hey guys, LootWizard here with another video on Gems of War, and we have a class trial for the Priest class. So I wanted to go ahead and make a quick video here on this class, what I think about it, should you level it up, how good is it. We're going to go over the traits, the talents, and then I will show off some teams with this hero class. Now, the Priest class is considered a divine troop, so it will be going well into teams that are using divine troops. So let's go ahead and go over the traits real quick, and we'll go to the talents. So for traits, there's really nothing amazing here. Air Link is pretty good. You get an extra bonus yellow. So if you have a 2 bonus banner of yellow, you're going to get an extra bonus. So that'd be 3. All allies heal 2 points per turn. It sounds good, but it's not as good as it sounds. What I mean by that is that healing points is never as good as gaining health. So you're going to heal points only when your health is damaged, and you're going to start out in the battle with armor, obviously, and unless the enemy is going to do true damage, you won't even be using this trait, this final one. But in those rare situations, it might save you if you have troops that are down to their last points, and it'll heal them by 2 points each turn, and that might give you just the edge to squeak out a victory. But it's nothing amazing. I think probably the best one is Air Link there out of the traits. Now, moving on to talents, we have the 2 different talent lines here are called Light, Life, and Knowledge. So this is a very support type of class. Now, the way that I think about classes is that they're mainly separated into defensive classes and support classes. And this is more of a support class than a defense class, even though support's kind of like a weaker defense class, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is that there are some classes, like this doesn't have rock solid, and that is considered to be one of the greatest defensive talents that you can have on a class. So, you know, either the class is very defensive, or it will support itself and other troops in some fashion. So let's go over the talents really quickly here, the ones that I think are worth getting. I do not have it unlocked all the way to 100. I only have down to 70. And so let's go over this here. For level 1, you have Shining Staff, Resilience, and Serendipity. Now, I think Resilience and Serendipity are the best ones out of that. You can gain 8 life, or you can give a random status effect to an ally. Then at level 5, we have Leading Light, gain 10 armor if in the first position. So very early on in the game, this is a significant, by only like 6 battles, winning 6 battles with this class, you can gain an extra 18 between armor and life, between these two, Resilience and Leading Light. So that's pretty significant early game, give you that little extra amount of cushion there with the armor and life. But even later in the game, it's still, it's still nice to have that extra 18. So the other one, though, of great significance here at level 5 is Purification, because Purification will cleanse your hero class on 4 or 5 gem matches. So that's always strong, but it all depends. Now, if you're in the first position, Leading Light might be good to select, like I have it. But if you're not in the first position, I would definitely select Purification. Now, at level 10, we have Brilliant Aura, Fast Healing, Golem, Protector. Now, I think Brilliant Aura and Fast Healing are probably the best ones here. Brilliant Aura is going to make all of your allies gain 2 life on 4 or 5 gem matches. And if you can get that pretty consistently, then your allies can gain quite a bit of life. Fast Healing will allow your hero to recover 2 life every single turn. And recover 2 life is the same thing as healing 2 life. You will not gain life past what your maximum already is. So you have to take damage first in order for this talent to even do anything. So it might be better to select Brilliant Aura. It all depends on what you experience happening in your battles. Now for level 20, we have Dawn's Aura, Fey Vengeance, and Tactician. I think the best ones are Dawn's Aura and Tactician out of this row. Dawn's Aura will give you a light storm at the start of the battle, so the first 8 turns you'll have extra yellow coming down on the board, and since we have Air Link in the traits, it kind of makes sense to have a light storm going. But Tactician is also interesting here. You can get an extra 3 magic, so that might be helpful. But I do like Dawn's Aura. I think that's probably the best one there in 20. For 40, we have Armor Light, Healing Herb, and Mentor. Now, Armor Light will give all troops 4 armor, which is pretty good. Healing Herb will gain 4 life, give 4 life to your hero when matching green gems. So that's nice. I really think Healing Herb is probably the best one out of here. Mentor, yeah, 1 magic, I guess, is kind of nice, but it's only 1 magic, that's it. Armor of Light, 4 armor, that's pretty nice. But yeah, gaining 4 life is really, really much better than healing. But then let's look here at row 70. Is it worth getting to 70? And I think it is worth getting to 70 on this class if you're going to use it a lot. So Lightbringer, Nature's Will, and Tree of Knowledge. Lightbringer will give you a bonus to yellow, and since we have Dawn's Aura here for the Light Storm, we also have Air Link in the traits. So between Air Link, Lightbringer, and a double yellow banner, we would have 4 extra yellow being given to us every time we match them. Now, Nature's Will is a bonus to green if you want that. Tree of Knowledge is pretty awesome. I do like Tree of Knowledge wherever I see it in a class because it just gives you that extra boost to get your class up to full mana right away. You know, especially these classes that don't have a 50% starting bonus to their mana. Now, this class does kind of have that, but there's a loophole sort of for it. It doesn't have it directly in its traits or its talents. You have to use a troop called Divine Ishbaala, and that'll allow divine troops to start at 40% mana. So when I get into the teams, we're going to see that, how that works. But one thing to take note here is it's kind of interesting that Tree of Knowledge, since you're going to be taking green gems from that, you might as well have Healing Herb on because you're going to gain 4 life whenever you match green gems. So that makes sense to take those 2 together. But yeah, there's a good amount of like healing, cleansing. So you got cleanse with purification, you got recovering life, and you have gaining life. So that's pretty cool. Now the question is, do you want to unlock the level 100 talents? Is it worth it on this class? Well, if you use it a lot, eventually you would just unlock it. But I wouldn't try to get to it, and I wouldn't spend the gems to unlock it because the amount of time that it takes you to get from level 1 all the way to level 70 is about the same time it's going to take you to go from 70 to 100. It takes that long to unlock these last 3 talents. But the best one probably out of all of these 3 is Divinity. All divine allies will gain 2 life every turn. That's probably the best one. Now, the final question before we move on to teams is the priest class worth leveling up? And now that we have like 33, 34, it's a good number of classes in the game, I would say probably no. I wouldn't focus on leveling it up because there's a lot of other classes that are just better at defense than the priest class. You know, we have now like 4 or 5, I think there's 5 rock solid classes in the game. You've got Titan, you've got Sentinel, you got Plague Lord, you got Monk, and Rune Priest. So those are all very, very good defensive classes. Now they won't be doing they don't have so much of the healing and the recovery of life. Now Monk has maybe a little bit of the support aspects of this class. I guess we could go over and take a look at Monk really quick because that's another class here that has some kind of healing going on. So it has the life talent tree. And as you can see, it does have resilience, it has purification, it has fast healing here, recovery, and it also has the gain 4 life on matching 4 gems. It has the Nature's Will. So it does have a lot of things going for it that the priest class has, as well as it has rock solid here in the mix, and it has finally at the bottom fortitude, which is going to be way better than divine talent over there. So if you're going to use a more support type class, a class with this life thing here, Monk might be a better option. Now, it still won't work probably quite as well as Priest with all of the divine troops. So, ultimately it's all my opinion here, and so everybody kind of has a little bit of their own opinions, I suppose, when it comes to some of these classes and putting teams together. But, I mean, as you can see, I've used Priest enough to get it to 70. But I focused on a lot of other classes first. And I would suggest focusing in on, even like Sunspear and Stormcaller. Those two classes are great because they start a... Sunspear starts a Firestorm at the start of every turn. And Stormcrawler starts a Lightstorm at the start of every turn right here. So I like that. I think that's way better than the Priest class itself. Just even though the Priest class is giving you a bonus to yellow, I would say level up the Stormcrawler class before Priest because you're getting that constant yellow dropping down on the board. But I don't know, that's just me. Anyway, now, it's not the worst class in the game, the Priest class. There's definitely worse classes than Priest. So I would say it's probably around the middle. I don't have any strong feelings of affection towards the Priest class, but I also don't hate it. It's one of those types of classes. So anyway, we're going to go into Explorer level difficulty 8 and show off a couple of teams here with the Priest class. And one thing here, let me back out and just show you really quick. In the Soulforge, in my Soulforge video, when I went over the craftable weapons, this week, Divine Protector is craftable in the Forge. So this weapon works the best with Divine allies. And since the Priest is Divine, now is the time to pick up this weapon if you are trying to level the Priest, because this weapon works fantastic with most of the Divine troops in the game. There's a lot of good Mythic Divines in the game, and this weapon works really good to generate mana for those troops. So we're going to use that in quite a few of our teams here. So going in here, this is kind of the classic Priest team. Now, this team has been around for, I don't know, a year or 2 years, ever since this weapon came out, and Infernus and Ubastet and Divine Ishbaala. Ever since this whole set came out, I don't really see it pop up in PvP much anymore, but like a year or 2 years ago, this used to be like the go-to, like really powerful team. And it still does have a kick to it, but there's way better like teams now than this. But the whole thing here is you have your weapon. It's going to be creating red and yellow gems, and Infernus and Ubastet are going to be using that, as well as you have Divine Ishbaala, which takes yellow, but is going to convert red gems to skulls, and it can enchant to allies. But the main thing we have it for down here in the team is that it's going to allow all Divine troops to start with 40% mana. So that's a big deal. Now, as you can see, I just took that green so I could get the enchant going on my weapon. And now that the weapon is full, we're going to go ahead and cast it, and you'll see like all of the mana that gets created, the red and the yellow. So everything is like full now. We can take that skull match. And Ubastet's great because it's going to instantly kill. Does lethal damage. As long as it kills one enemy, it's going to do lethal damage to the next. So as you can see, this team is still pretty good in some situations like this. But, it's not as strong in PvP as it used to be. And Divine Protector in the first spot is kind of like really weak because it doesn't have any way to mitigate skull damage. It doesn't have any way to gain barrier, really. So it's kind of like it has to rely on gaining all of that life, and it's not quite as enough as like barrier would be. But yeah, still it's the classic Priest team right there. Then I'm gonna go on here. I got a few other teams below here that I cooked up just to see what we could do with this weapon combined with some Divine troops. So in this case, I put Divine Ishbaala at the top. And it won't block any of the mana from my Divine Protector, so that's going to get full. And at the bottom, third spot, I have Gaard's Avatar, which in this case, it's going to be doing half of my armor as damage to all enemies, which right now is 55, added to the 16. So we're going to be doing, approximately 70 or so damage to all enemies once I get that powered up. And we'll take that green, take this red, and we'll take this green. So one of the priorities in this team setup is just to get the weapon powered up, because that's going to be your main mana generator. And it creates a lot of red on the board, which is good for Divine Ishbaala because she is going to be transforming red gems to skulls. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of good lineup with the red gems and the skulls. But sometimes you get a nice 4-match with skulls and that red color. Let's go ahead and use our... yeah, that did quite a bit of damage there. The Gaard's avatar did more damage than I thought it would. So, let's see. Let's take a blue. Get some nice mana cascades going on there. And we might as well go ahead and do this because that'll convert the green to yellow. The yellow that Ishbaala converts is going to go right into Gaard's avatar. So that's cool. And we got Gaard's avatar up again. Boom. So that's a team, too, that you can use there. And I had Suna, which I didn't even cast down here at the bottom, but that is kind of my backup for stealing life. But the other thing that it's there for is to Fairy Fire when matching red gems. Now, the weapon here is going to be creating red gems, so when those match, you're going to Fairy Fire the enemy. And so that's pretty strong there, too. So that's an interesting team with this weapon in it as well. And then moving on to Priest Skulls. I have 3 teams with Skulls with the Priest. And it wouldn't seem like Skulls would be a good idea with the Priest because it doesn't have any way to like gain barrier or it doesn't have any way to mitigate that skull damage. But this team right here is pretty powerful. Now most people use this team with like Frost Mage or some other class, but the Priest actually works pretty good with it because consider that the Priest class is going to be giving us a lot of extra yellow. And this team is going to rely a lot on yellow. Now, the only troop in this team that is not Divine is Moonrabbit, but that's okay because it's already starting with full mana, and we're not using that Divine Protector weapon to generate mana based on how many Divine troops we have. So that's Moonrabbit is going to help this team a lot, and it'll help us get that color. So let's go ahead and use this one. I'm sure pretty much everybody that's watching this has faced this team in PvP at some point. But, we'll just use it here. So I don't have any 4 matches with yellow, but we do have a 3-match here, 3-match here. So I need to get everything powered up. Let's go ahead and cast Moonrabbit. And by doing that, we'll fill up Divine Ishbaala. And this also has the potential to give me more yellow for the entire team because it will transform green gems to yellow. So wherever we see green and yellow matching, it will do that conversion for us. And we don't have a whole lot going on there. Not a whole lot lining up, but we'll just cast it anyway. It gives us a little bit of just some mana moving around. Plus, it enchants 2 allies. So that's what we saw here. The Qilin got enchanted and the Moonrabbit. And once Qilin gets enchanted here, now that's going to convert all these brown gems to skulls. And we got a nice 4-match here. So we'll just go ahead and convert that. And that gives us more red that we can use for converting those to skulls with Divine Ishbaala. If we can get her powered up. And you just kind of keep doing the whole loop. And then you can use your rope dart once that's powered up. And there you go. So that team is a classic. I mean, it really does work with pretty much every class in the game. But Priest does give you that boost to yellow. And you're using yellow mostly for this team. So I think it works good in that team setup. Now, moving on to our second team for skulls. We're also using Qilin and Divine Ishbaala once again. But instead of Moonrabbit, we're putting Stonehammer at the top because, yes, Stonehammer is a divine troop. It's a dwarf, but it's also divine. And it's one of the best tanks in the game with reducing damage from skulls by 80%, and it will gain life. It'll create 22 red and brown gems. So it's going to stun and burn enemies. So it's all around just a good defense troop. And since this troop here, well, this one's going to use red. So the red that this creates The brown it creates is going to go back into itself. The red that it creates is going to fill up Qilin. And then if we have Divine Ishbaala up, the extra red on the board will be converted into skulls. So right here we have a nice red 4 match. We can just bam, convert that. And now we got lots of skulls with red there. We can cast that again. Now we got lots of brown. Cast that again. And we don't have to worry about taking a lot of damage because this guy up here is going to reduce it by 80%. And then, you know, when you're low on mana for everybody, you can just cast this Divine Protector weapon, create more red on the board. So let's see, do we have any red here with skulls? I don't really see any. Well, we can just cast this, create some more on the board. Oh, we got some brown that matched up for skulls. So there we go. So that's a pretty good team too. I really like that one. Has a lot of synergy with the mana that it's creating. It's really just a skull team though. The only spell damage you have is with your weapon here. So that can be limiting because if you get entangled, if your Stonehammer gets entangled and you don't have a way to cleanse it in this team, then it's kind of, you know, it can be trouble. But that's where there's a cleanse yourself in here. But I don't think there is a way to cleanse in the talents here your other troops. Oh, there is not. So the problem with this team would be if you get entangled or something there at the top. But other than that, it's a pretty fun team. And the fact that Stonehammer stuns is great because the skull damage at the top there will continue to be the best that it can be. Now I have a third team here with skulls. This one's a little different, but it still uses the priest class, and we still use divine troops, mostly except for Moonrabbit. So, yes, this troop here, Umenath, is a divine troop, as you can see right here at the bottom. And in traits, it will place Hunter's Mark on enemies when doing skull damage, which means Hunter's Mark is going to do double skull damage, and that is great. So this troop's going to do double skull damage. Now, it has a low 20% chance to dodge skull damage, so it's probably going to get hit a lot. I wish that was higher, like 60 or so % of just reduction from skulls, but well, it is what it is. But it will gain 4 attack whenever you match 4 or more gems, so that's cool. Yeah, so this is a really great troop to have at the top of your team, and the fact that we have Divine Ishbaala, which is going to be a way to create skulls, it's a pretty good setup. Now we have Moonrabbit here to generate all that yellow mana if there's blue and yellow that matches up, but if not, that's okay. Now remember, with the priest class we can enchant, and that's what I just kind of did there. I matched a green gem in there that allowed enchanting it. And with the Dawnbringer here, you don't have to use Dawnbringer, but this team works really good with it simply because you can get barrier on Umenath, and that is really, really good. Now, if only we could create some skulls here. I don't even have Moonrabbit lined up with anything. It's a little unfortunate. I wanted to show a little bit. Might have to do this team twice. Dawnbringer is going to take them all out. Anyway. But this troop here, once you get them whittled down a little bit, it will destroy them in one hit, and then it will create skulls if they die. So I just wish I could get... Yeah, we cleared it all out. Let me do this team one more time really quickly just to see if I can get Divine Ishbaala to line up. Looks like we got a mythic boss battle here. We can fight Infernus. Yeah, and Moonrabbit, a lot of times it lines up perfect with the right gem combination. Well, that wasn't too good. Well, we got over here. Yeah, finally. Hopefully, well, yeah, let's just do this. There we go. I didn't want to do this and then disturb that. So now, well, let's take this skull match here real quick. It's going to do that hunter's mark. And we can go ahead and cast Dawnbringer to protect it with that barrier. If only there was red gems matching up with Divine Ishbaala here, it would be really good. Well, we got one here. That's about it. Well, let's just cast it so we can enchant too. Yeah, see that 20%, the 20% skull damage, or not skull damage, the 20% dodge of skull damage is really, it didn't work that well for me. Let's see if we can take out Infernus. Boom. So, Umenath works pretty good. It's a little fragile in this team, but it can be fun if the gems line up right. So, that's an interesting team. Not the greatest, but interesting. The last one here that I'll show you is kind of a hodgepodge of just divine troops. It doesn't make as much sense, really, because I have Skadi down here, which is a divine troop, and it's going to create an ice storm. The only thing that takes blue in this team is my hero weapon. So it's just the only thing that it's there to do really is to ensure that that hero weapon remains full enough so that I can keep casting it to create the red and yellow that I need for Ketras and the yellow for Ishbaala. So that's really what's going on with that. But Ketras really is a powerful troop, no matter what team you put him in. So right here it shows you the boost ratio, 114 added this 33 damage. We're going to do a heck of a lot of damage. Boom. Almost killed that troop entirely. So once we get the weapon powered up, and we can take out a troop, boom, look at that. All that mana just powered everything up. And we can go ahead and cast the weapon again. Almost killed it again. And Ketras is full again. So the Skadi's kind of there at the bottom just to make sure that you have blue. Let's go in and use it again here real quick. The Skadi is just there to make sure you got the blue for your weapon. Because the faster you get your weapon powered up, the faster you're going to generate mana for Ketras and for the Queen. Not the Queen, but Divine Ishbaala. I keep thinking this is a queen for some reason. Anyway, I think I've called her a queen in like a couple of videos. Anyway, and all the yellow that Divine Ishbaala creates is going to go back into itself and overflow into Skadi. And if you do have Skadi powered up, it will still do damage with its mana burn, and it will disrupt the enemy team. So this team seems a little bit odd. Here we can just do this here. So as it took quite a bit of damage there, and it froze it. So you know, Skadi it seems like it's weird in this team because there's only one troop that's using blue. But it's not really as weird as it would look. You know, it looks weird like on paper or in theory, but it actually works pretty good. So anyway, guys, that's about it. Those are all the teams that I threw together kind of just this morning. So I'm sure that there is a few more divine teams, because let's go in here really quick and I'll show you just all the divine troops. And we'll end on that note. So if we go to Divine Troop, base rarity. So these are all the Divine Troops we have to choose from. We have Urali, we have Gaard's Avatar, we have Infernus, we have Jotnar Storm Shield, we have Ketras the Bull, you got Pharaoh's Ra, you have Queen Aurora, Skadi, Stonehammer, Suna, Ubastet, Umenath, Undine, Voice of Orpheus, Will of Nisha, Yasemin's Chosen. Those are all the mythics. That's a lot of mythic troops that are divine troops. Then for legendaries, you got Celatacia, you have Divine Ishbaala, you have Divinia, you have Forest Guardian, you have Holy Saint Ostra, Qilin. Those are all your legendaries that are divine troops, and Divinia is also a really great troop. I probably could have done a team with Divinia in it as well. And then some of the non-legendary troops that are significant is Mercy. We didn't even use that in a team. Penlong is still pretty good as a non-legendary, deals a pretty good damage to all enemies. And Diviner is a good mana generator troop that's divine. And Monkey Disciple is a good support troop. Starts with 75% mana, creates 7 red and 7 yellow gems, gives all allies life. Paladin is a really good divine troop as well. It will gain, it does damage based 1-to-1 ratio on its armor. So that's a pretty strong troop. Then we have Valkyrie, which is a great blue mana generator. And you also have the Devoted, which is also a mana generator and a way to cleanse troops and give them armor. Stargazer is pretty good in some cases too. It'll give attack to the first ally, starts with full mana. So you do have some interesting divine troops. There's a lot of good mythics for divine. So the potential with this class is actually pretty good. And for this weapon, you might want to craft it in a Soul Forge this week because it's there and it's going to be there through this weekend. If you do have a lot of these mythic and legendary divine troops, you might want to pick it up because if you use it with the priest class, that's actually, that's the best way to use that class, in my opinion, is with full divine troop setup and possibly with this weapon. So, all right, guys, that's it for my my priest class teams and what I think of the class and all that. So, thanks for watching as always, and if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, please consider doing so because that gives me more motivation to make videos like this in the future. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.